Alright folks, here we go. This is one of my first videos on board the boat. This is my Yanmar 3HM35F marine diesel engine. We're looking at it from the back side of the engine right now. You can see the Kanzaki transmission there. Got a Racor. This is a Racor 200FG, and pretty much standard. If anybody's familiar with these, pretty standard. If you've seen my other videos, if you can imagine, it looks the same from the aft end. I want to go over real quick just a couple mods that I've made to this engine to make it a little bit more reliable, a little bit easier to use, and maybe a little bit safer, a little more efficient. First thing right off the top, I got this great big giant intake air filter. Fortunately, I was able to find one that just screwed right on. Just used a band clamp. I checked the input diameter, and it just goes right on. So nice, a lot more surface area to get the air into the engine. Something that I was experiencing was that oil was getting pressed out of the valve cover and through the breather, and then it normally just ran down here to the intake, so you'd be drawing off exhaust gases off the valve cover with the intake vacuum. Problem was, oil was getting sucked up through this little tiny wire screen there, and it just made a mess of everything. It was just making a mess all down on my starter because it was leaking out after you'd run the engine, and make a mess on the starter, saturate the foam in the air filter. And so I put this container over here on the side. It's a dropout container, so now the oil actually the vacuum gets drawn all the way up this tube into the container, and then it can allow the oil to drop out. I got a little sight glass there, a drain on the bottom, and then the vacuum gets back to the engine. So not only does it have to go through the container, but it also has to go uphill, so the oil has a tendency not to make it back into the intake. Makes things a little bit nicer for me. The Racor. A lot of people change the Racor every year. That's fine. Do what you want. But what I chose to do was put a vacuum gauge on there. So this is the suction from the engine. This line here is the suction from the engine. And when the engine's running, you can actually see the vacuum that it is drawing. Now, it typically runs with very little vacuum while the engine's running, but if it starts to rise, then I realize that there's a changing parameter, and I can change the Racor then. Another final mod, when you're talking about the Racor and when you want to change the Racor, I have these T-handles that I tapped into the top of the Racor. One there, and then this one over here, this one's tapped into the vent line coming off of the final injector. So there's a little bit of bleed off each injector, and this vent line actually runs around, goes all the way back into my fuel tank. Well, the vent line's completely normal, but these little T-handled little brass valves, they're not so normal, and the idea is that you can vent the air off the Racor. So what I have is a squeezy bulb down here, and I'll give that a little push, and you can actually watch the pressure change on the, let's see if I can get this, see my needle move down. So I got the pressure to change. So now it's actually feeling a little bit of positive pressure, and now as I go to open these needle valves, the pressure will come up. We can get these open, and I can actually see my air moving through my little tube there. I'm actually venting the air off the top of the Racor, and evidently I had accumulated a small amount simply just from operating the engine through the season. I didn't actually see it in the bowl. And right now I'm operating a squeezy bulb, just one finger pushing straight down. You can actually see my needle deflecting a little bit as the suction to discharge pressures change. And as I'm going, you can actually just see that air just flushing right through my piece of clear tubing. I'll do this a little bit more, and then I'll start throttling down on my Racor side T-handle. I'll kind of make it a little bit stiffer so that also put this loop in here so that any air, as it kind of backflows, the air accumulates in the top. I'll give it a little push. It's a little bit firmer now. I'll start shutting down on this T-handle. Oh, maybe too far there. And push. Oh, yep, we got a little too tight. Okay. Let some flow through, if we got any. There's the flow. Give it a half turn. Still got flow. Give it another half turn. That's just about it. Close that off. Shut this one. And now we're done. So now you've seen, what is that, 4 mods that have actually improved the operation of the engine and made it a little bit easier for quick and easy maintenance and to tell when you need to do maintenance. We got the air filter, the oil dropout tank, the vacuum gauge, and the T-handle. Again, that's the air filter, oil dropout, the let's see, the vacuum gauge here, and then the T-handles for easy venting. If you guys got any questions, just let me know. Messages in the comments. All right, talk to you later.